You see that guy sitting behind me? That's Einstein. He's sitting here, and I think, what is it? Constitution Avenue. We're at the National Academy of Sciences, which is right across the street from the Lincoln Memorial. So come down, sit with, Einstein, I guess the smartest guy in the 20th century, and maybe some of that will rub off. I don't think it worked with me. I flunked out of high school. I barely was on and off probation in college for 4 years. Was not the honor student like my brother was. But it turned out all right. That's why we all have room. That's what's neat about America. There's room for everybody. And all the things, the way they keep score when you're going through school, if you're not good at it, man, then you don't feel too well. Well, I want to tell you about some things that are happening right now. Today, they're going to announce a whole bunch of new grants. And this is COVID grants, like $2 trillion more, or at least $1 trillion or so, that the government's going to announce. Biden's going to go to the Capitol Hill and announce all these new programs, and he's going to pay for them too, with the tax system. And it's going to be money for child care, money for unanimous pre-kindergarten. I mean, the first 4 years of life are the most important things in a child's life. So if they're not treated right then, man, we're gonna lose them quickly, And so that's why he wants to have this unlimited pre-kindergarten for everybody, free, and also free community college. And so all that is going to help you get the education you need at any age to get on with your life, because we're all living so goddamn long. 77. I thought you died at 63. I think that's a lot of my grandparents did, because they came here and worked in the coal mines. So that wasn't set up for a long life. And that's why Social Security is going down the toilet. Everybody's living so long. So it's really get out there and contribute and do something that the economy will pay you for, and you can, no matter what age, because you don't have to work in a factory or in a coal mine and stuff like that. You sit behind a computer and you can do that in a coffee shop like I do. So that's a way of living. So these are new grants, and what's interesting though is that Biden hopes to pay for a lot of this by the tax system. Now, what has happened in the tax system is made it for the average person. Like, everybody worries about an IRS audit. You should not worry about that. In the last 10 years, they have cut the IRS so much, they have no money to audit anybody. That's why the fat cats, man, don't pay any taxes, because they can outweigh them. The IRS doesn't have people to go after it. They cut down. Now, here's some data that about the IRS. Okay, so it's child care, pre-K, family leave, and sick leave, all that stuff. There are hundreds of billions of dollars. It's going to pay for it. Okay, now see, and people aren't paying taxes. They sneak out of it, they don't even file, things like that. But 80% of Americans do, because they get a wage. So it's the fat cats who don't get a W-2 are able to skirt around all the taxes, and not pay. So people who get a W-2 are compliant. Almost 100% pay taxes. Now let me read you some different things here about I found in an article about American tax cheats. Taxpayers with more complex income, most of whom are high income brackets, are able to avoid paying what they owe. In recent testimony, listen to this. This is testimony on Capitol Hill under oath. An IRS commissioner, this is somebody who heads the IRS, said he believes the tax gap is what the IRS should collect, what's owed the IRS and what it's actually owed. And that is $1 trillion a year. So in other words, what people owe the IRS, and the IRS doesn't have the manpower to collect it, is $1 trillion. Now that's the same $1 trillion that Biden wants to get to pay for these programs for child care, pre-kindergarten, paid family leave, and paid sick leave. So that's $1 trillion a year. Okay, a paper published in March by the National Bureau of Economic Research. They're independent. There are no political things that I know of them, but I could be wrong. Found that Americans' top 1% underreport their income by an average of 21%. So the top 1%ers are underreporting how much money they make by 21%. And really, the thing is, they do whatever they want, and maybe they play the lottery system if they get caught or not. And there's less and less people in the IRS going after them, so they win most of the time. So, the privileged few are taking advantage of an agency that has hollowed out over years. Years of ideological warfare have left the IRS with a small fraction of its previous capacity. It's easier than ever for the wealthy to get away with cheating. Now, I'm sure there's cheating at all incomes, but it's easier for the fat cats to do it. They got more to do, the reason to do it. Okay, what Biden wants to do is put in $80 billion in the IRS to beef up the IRS on enforcement. And he says that is going to cover $800 billion in revenue. So he's got... But with an investment, it's sort of like a collection agency. Putting money into a collection agency to get what's owed to it. You know, he feels if you invest $800 million, he's going to get back $800 billion. No, 80 billion will get back $800 billion. Okay, the IRS lost more than 33,000 positions from 2010 to 2020. Okay, so 33,000 people were fired from the IRS in those 10 years when everything grew. So they conducted 42% fewer audits. So that's why everybody has this fear of audit. Your chances of getting audit now are next to zero, probably. Yeah. So it's getting down to nothing, and it's amazing. So overall the budget was cut by 21%. Was cut by 21% in inflation-adjusted dollars from 20 to 20. So they're cutting it back. So they cut it back, the IRS budget, by 21% when the number of returns increased almost 10%. You know, and enforcement was cut by a third. So 33% of enforcement was cut out. So that's why don't worry about this fear of the IRS. I mean, pay your taxes. We owe the company. We decide to live in a democracy where we vote on that and we say we're going to do that. And to me, it's part of the contract of being in a democracy. We vote. Okay, we lose, we win, or whatever, but we got to pay. Yeah. To keep the thing running. But another thing, if you owe back taxes, this is another thing people don't realize. There is a program the IRS had called an offer in compromise. Now, if you owe taxes, like there's a Let's Go Help member who used this, and she was able to cut the amount of money she owed from $50,000 down to $5,000. So this is just using all by herself. She didn't hire an expert. If you put offer and compromise, you're going to get all these sharks out there that are going to get a percentage of what you save. And why do that? You should get more savings by just going directly and going to irs.gov and look for offer and compromise, okay? Now, a lot of people fear the government and the IRS so much, but these are people like you and I. If you're open with them, sure, there's idiots everywhere, but I think there's more idiots and sharks that are trying to get money from you than the government. See, the government's not playing with their money. So, if you have a lot of leverage there, but you could go to the offer and compromise and see what they give you. If you don't, then go one of these sharks and see if they beat what you could get yourself. And they're very compliant now. Government offices that you owe money for are a lot easier to get. How did you get a $10,000? See that? The government offices you owe money in are more willing to make a deal with you, make it easier. Congratulations to you. How did you get it? PSA, no need for. By the way, I did a video earlier too about there's like 70 million people that have backgrounds with convictions or police records and stuff like that, and they're now eligible for the business money up to $50,000. So this is, even if you're a criminal, you're eligible, except if you're a criminal from embezzlement. If you embezzled, the government's not going to give you a loan or even a grant. So if you embezzled money. But there's 70,000 other people who have criminal records that can get money from this. Now, originally in these COVID programs, you couldn't, but now you can. And also there's a lot of local programs. If you're undocumented, you could get this money too. So you don't have to have an official documentation here, because we have too many people, our neighbors, that are living here without documents, that are in trouble, and they get in trouble, and the rest of us suffer too. So that's why there are a lot of programs for that. If you're undocumented or no friends, have them search for these kind of programs too, because there may be help for them too. And by the way, the rent program that's starting to rack up now. So if you owe rent or mortgage, there's 2 programs, and it's in every country. The government has been sitting on this money because they didn't have a way to send it out. So now the states now are starting to get it set up to send out. So check with your state. And so if you're looking for rent or mortgage money and nobody in your state can tell you, then call your elected official. They're the ones that know about this stuff, because they're getting hit with it more. Just don't make a call or two, and if everybody says no, that, oh, it must not be there. No, you have to work harder at this stuff to be able to find it. It's not going to come to you. You have to come to it. And keep a flexible, open mind. And see, that's not going to happen until you start getting some successes underneath your belt, and that will help you. And actually, like just I just did a thing on YouTube, the video before this, and as soon as I put it up about you could have a criminal background and get a business grant, somebody wrote in, yes, 10 years ago he had a felony and now got $10,000 because of that. So, I mean, $20,000. And that's a forgivable loan, so which means it's a grant. I'll grant you this, you grant me that. And that's important. So, you don't have to be Einstein down here, see? None of us are, except I guess he was, and I couldn't even explain what the hell he was smart for. But we all have a way to get, enough talent to get through this life. And there's enough help if you start looking for it to help you along the way. It may not work all the time, it's going to take effort, but that, even if you fail at that, it makes you smarter about where else to look. And that's why if you're sitting there with only a couple ideas in your mind and they don't work, well, you have to follow those ideas so that new ideas come in your mind. And that's the way you grow on it. That's how learning happens. You take an existing piece of knowledge, you add something else to it, and that creates a third thing. 1 + 1 = 3. And that's what happens in growing your knowledge, growing your education, and growing your opportunities. Is constantly trying things and seeing what happens. That's how, whether him inventing something or any inventor inventing their life, they're down in the laboratory trying different things. Hey, does this work? No. Does this work? Well, these two work. Oh, holy shit, you just blew up the building. Well, you learned. And that's the best thing you do, is learn from failure. You don't want to blow up the building again. So that's what we all have to do. We're all our own scientists, trying to figure out what our life is. And it's so complex out there. Nobody knows the answer. And the only way to do it is trial and error, to see what works for you, because we're all different animals, respond to different things. So it works for somebody else, may or may not work for you. But try and see what the hell happens, and you'll grow into something else that, oh shit, I never saw that before. And then you'll do that. And now that, wow, that works. Now you become a genius. But you did it by accident. That's what it is. Stumble into accidents.